everyone, Paul Bertorelli reporting for AVweb, doing some instrument training here in Southwest Florida on a nice sunny day. Reality of Florida. If you look closely, you'll see that my friend John Mokel and I are both wearing Bose headsets, but John's got the old reliable A20 noise canceling headset, and I have the new A30 just out from Bose, or will be by the time you see this video. You'll get a chance to look at it. It's being introduced at Sun and Fun. So we'll come back in the cockpit to talk about the impressions of using it. But first, let's talk to Matt Ruwe at Bose about what they've done with the new A30. So Matt, tell us what the thinking was for Bose in developing the A30.
Yeah, well, after 13 years and lots of feedback, a couple of things became really clear from our customers. And number one was comfort. Everybody wants a more comfortable headset. A lot of people thought our noise cancellation was sufficient. And of course, they've all loved the audio qualities. And so what Bose focused on with the A30 was improving comfort, primarily through the reduction in clamping force, but also some redistribution of weight and some other comfort improvements.
I did find actually that, and both John and I, when we flew, found that the clamping force seemed a little higher, but then we were using old A20s that may have had worn springs, but the clamping force was still comfortable, and I thought it improved the seal and the A&R a little bit. So run me through the mechanicals on this, which are quite different.
Yeah, they are. Most people know that we have a metal headband with A20. We retained a metal headband, but instead of using magnesium, we used aluminum, which we were able to make it a little thinner and a little lighter. So when I talk about the redistribution of weight, we were able to do that by lightening that headband structure. But it's also a more finished look. I'm sure you probably noticed, there aren't any opening holes or any what I call lightning holes, where you're kind of familiar with that from the aviation vernacular, where there's less material. We filled all of that material in, makes it a little bit more complete looking of a headset. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I think quite a nice looking headset. But there's also some benefits in that. We were able to hide all of the wires in the headband and headset. So there's no pinch points, and things look not just more finished, but also prevents some of those things from getting caught. Moving down from the headband, which of course still retains a center pivot spring, we got multiple types of aeronautical grade plastics, some things that we worked really hard on, and changing some of the formulas and some of the thicknesses to help retain the strength, but also make sure it's still, very lightweight. Down to the ear cups, which the ear cups are all brand new. The entire headset, really, from a form factor architecture standpoint, is a brand new headset. Even though it has a lot of the DNA and look of A20, it truly is a brand new headset.
Cables, we talked earlier about the cables. They're a little bit more robust and less susceptible to tangling, I noticed.
Yeah, that was one of the great benefits going with the new headset. What's even more impressive from my perspective is that we've included 17 conductors in the upper part of that cable. So there's even more conductors in that upper part, which allows for some interesting things potentially for the future, but also gives us, some really good, with the stay cable, the stay cord, and with some of the other benefits of shielded cables, give us some benefits in performance as well.
Now you carried some features, or at least one feature, over from the Pro, which is the variable A&R. Why don't you explain how that works?
Yeah, we have 3 modes of active noise reduction: a high, medium, and low. And they truly are modes. For most of us who fly in general aviation and louder piston aircraft, the high mode is pretty much where you're never going to really leave that mode. And that's going to be very similar to your A20 in terms of performance for active noise cancellation. The medium mode might be something that folks flying in jet aircraft might enjoy, or sometimes may even pressurized aircraft, where a lot of times we hear from jet operators that sometimes A20 is even overkill. It's maybe too quiet than they even like. So the medium mode might be more appropriate for them. And the low mode is very unique. That low mode is what we call an interpersonal communication mode that allows you to have a talk through or a hear through mode where voices come through. Really not usable in general aviation piston noise. It's probably not something you'd ever use there. But certainly in a jet aircraft, we might have somebody in the cabin come up to the cockpit and want to talk to you. Be good for that.
Yeah, and I noticed I did try it. You're right, on low mode, it just renders the ANR pretty much nil. So it just, I can't see a circumstance where you'd use that. Maybe if you were listening for a ref engine or something.
Yeah, that rough engine is certainly a use case. I've tried to use it a couple times when I'm starting the aircraft. I don't think it's going to change most people's way of operating in terms of how they start the aircraft, but I know some people start with the headset off. This might allow you to put the headset on, put it in low mode, start the aircraft with some noise reduction, still allowing you to hear voices and maybe people shouting around the aircraft, and then turn it back to high quickly without having to don it. So you're not exposed to all of the noise, but certainly I don't think people are going to change their normal operation and their habits for that.
And of course, it retained the pro control method of being able to tap on the ear cup, or in this case, use a hard switch on the power box.
That's right. Yeah, the tap control is kind of a unique technology. We're not using capacitance touch or some of the things that we typically see in consumer products. We're actually using the acoustics of the ear cup to, when you tap on an ear cup, turn that ear cup into low mode, just one ear. And again, that's something that I think we've heard is very popular in the airline environment, where they might want to have one ear in a talk through mode so they can hear someone next to them, and the other ear with a little more attenuation so they can hear the radio with better speech intelligibility.
In years past, all headsets, pretty much all headsets, if you wanted to switch the mic from left to right, you simply turn the headset around and rotated the mic. But the problem with that is that it has fit complications and doesn't always work that well. So here you can mechanically, electrically switch the mic, which is pretty easy to do, and it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, we're excited about that. It took a lot of work to make sure that we could do it without a tool. With A20, it requires a Phillips head screwdriver, and it takes a minute or two, depending on how good or fast you are at it, to change it off. Not particularly long. But if you're in an environment where you are swapping seats, again, typically maybe in a corporate environment where you're switching seats every leg, you're not going to bring a screwdriver along to do that. So this really enables that functionality in that environment. It also enables those who might be flying in a friend's plane to switch the boom very quickly and easily, so that the cable is away from them, not across their body, enabling really a more comfortable fit and feel for the headset.
The power box and the circuitry have been redesigned. I didn't realize this. We talked about this a few weeks ago, that the original A20 was an analog design, but this is digital.
That's correct.
But that doesn't really affect performance much.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of this new digital architecture that Bose has. We've worked with partners to create essentially a digital chipset that Bose has implemented in some of our products that eliminates some of the trade-off that you typically see in digital designs, and that's battery life reduction. We're able to get it's just as good and better battery life with the A30 versus the A20. So at least 40, we're seeing 45 hours plus in some cases battery life in the A30 headset. And you wouldn't typically get that in typical digital designs because the chipsets are not optimized for power consumption, and ours is. Not just power consumption, but also enables the multiple modes of active noise reduction and a few other features in the headset that are really just delightful.
Any other changes worth mentioning?
Yeah, some of the things that I'm excited about, and you'd mentioned them, is the cable design. I was pleasantly surprised at going to the thinner, more supple cable. Certainly the design where we have, and this is a little different, where we have in the headset now, you might have noticed this, a reversionary mode. Typically those of us in aviation, we're familiar with that from an avionics perspective and what that means if there's a failure. Now with this digital design and the architecture that we've implemented, customers will probably notice that there's a reversionary mode in the headset, and they'll probably ask, what is that for? That's certainly something I don't think anyone will ever probably use in the headset as it comes off the production line today. But certainly what that enables for us down the road is adding capabilities and functions that will allow a customer, if something else fails, to revert back to kind of a safe mode of operation where active noise reduction, audio, and certainly communication is enabled no matter what. So that's different and new, something customers probably won't necessarily recognize. Another one that's kind of a hidden feature that I love to talk about is what we hear from our military customers from time to time. Our headsets are used in C-17, C-130s, a lot of transport category aircraft. And sometimes we'll see a headset that is completely covered with black electrical tape, and that's because they want to eliminate the LED flashing light. It's not just annoying, but sometimes it's something they can't use with night vision goggles. So a new feature in the headset is actually being able to turn off the LED lights by pressing the power button 3 times. It turns off all of the LEDs. So there's a few hidden features like that. I think the customers who really need them and know about it will be absolutely delighted by some of those features.
So where are we with price on this?
Yeah, $1,249 is our launch price, and it's available at Bose.com as well as all of our dealers and distributors right away.
And do you know if there'll be any kind of trade-in program?
We do plan on having a trade-in program. It's not going to be available in the first month, likely. We have a lot of what we call pipe fill or channel fill with product, and we're producing a lot of product every day as it is. But we're anticipating a bit of a back order for a while until we can make sure that all of our dealers are fulfilled and we have strong inventory. We'll be holding off on the trade-ins.
And of course, people will be able to see this headset at Sun and Fun this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited to show it here at Sun and Fun, or show it at Sun and Fun for the first time. And we're anticipating some great feedback. And of course, it'll also be available on Bose.com and through our dealers, like I said.
Okay, Matt Ruwe, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what are the impressions of the A30? Well, as Matt said, it's mechanically improved, and it's really noticeable when you put the two headsets side by side. The fit and finish was good on the A20, but it's much more impressive on the A30. All of the trim fits perfectly, and particularly along the headband, they've really done a nice job with those pads. The battery box is redesigned. It's easier to use. The controls work well and smoothly. You're less likely to drop a battery if you change the batteries in the air, which all of us have to do from time to time. So it's less likely to be dropped or where it will disappear until the next annual. The cables are a little bit stiffer, so they feel a lot more durable and are less tangle prone. I like the switchable mic. Most of us who have headsets with a mic fixed on one side, what we usually do is, if we want it on the left or the right, we flip the headset around and then just rotate the mic into the position. The problem with that is that the geometry of the headset is designed for a mic on one side usually, so the mic doesn't fit exactly perfectly, and neither do the ear cups and the headset itself. So you lose a little bit of comfort, and you probably lose some noise canceling performance too. The ear cup fit is better. It's a redesigned pad, so you get a better seal, and that probably does improve noise canceling, although it's not especially noticeable when you switch from one to the other. At $1,249 as a price, it's comparable to what we've been paying for these headsets since they appeared in 1989 with the Bose, the first Bose A&R. At the time we thought that was outrageously priced, but here we are 30 plus years later, and if you run it through an inflation calculator, the headset with improved performance and improved durability actually costs less than it did in 1989. So overall, Bose has made some considerable improvements with the A30, but don't take my word for it. You can see the A30 at Sun and Fun and Bose's booth. They're going to be in MD29B at the show, and they'll be happy to show you what they got. For AVweb, I'm Paul Bertorelli reporting. Thanks for watching.